Bryan Kohberger arriving at a maximum security prison just hours after being sentenced to life in prison without parole for the murder of 4 University of Idaho students.
Chanley Painter live in Boise, Idaho with more. Chanley.
Hey, Todd and Carly, that's right. The state of Idaho did not waste any time in transferring the admitted murderer to the state prison in Kuna, Idaho, which is just south of where I am here in Boise, Idaho. That's according to a source to Fox News Digital. And within the next 7 to 14 days, he will undergo a needs and placement assessment. Bryan Kohberger was formally sentenced yesterday to 4 consecutive life terms without parole, plus 10 years for burglary, and slapped with a nearly $300,000 in financial penalties after pleading guilty to stabbing to death 4 University of Idaho students in 2022. Inside the courtroom, though, he only spoke 3 words when given a chance to explain why he killed.
Mr. Kohberger, you have an opportunity to make a statement if you wish to. I take it you are declining.
I respectfully decline.
As far as I can tell, that is the most words we've ever heard from that monster after he was arrested. He also chose to remain silent after sitting virtually motionless and emotionless for 2.5 hours as victim family members took to the podium, including the surviving roommates inside that home at the time of the slaughter. Bethany Funk had her statement read by a close friend, and then Dylan Mortensen bravely and tearfully addressed the court in person. Watch.
He is a hollow vessel, something less than human, a body without empathy, without remorse. He chose destruction. He chose evil. He feels nothing.
I hated and still hate that they are gone, but for some reason, I am still here and I got to live. I still think about this every day. Why me? Why did I get to live?
And now that sentencing has concluded and the gag order lifted, we are finally learning new insights into the investigation after the Moscow Police Department released a trove of documents last night, including heartbreaking details like how 21-year-old Kaylee Gonsalves was, quote, unrecognizable after she was stabbed more than 20 times by Bryan Kohberger, and how 20-year-old Xana Kernodle fought for her life, too, and was stabbed more than 50 times in a, quote, intense struggle, according to police. Among many other disturbing details we'll continue to bring our viewers. Also inside the courtroom yesterday, the mother and one of the sisters of Bryan Kohberger were in court, but they chose not to speak, guys.
Chanley Painter, thank you. Of course, yesterday was all about the powerful and emotional statements from the family members of the victims.
If you were really smart, do you think you'd be here right now? What's it like needing this much attention just to feel real? If you hadn't attacked them in their sleep, in the middle of the night, like a pedophile, Kaylee would have kicked your.
You're entering a place where no one will care who you are and no one will ever respect you. You will be forgotten, discarded, used, and erased.
The world's watching because of the kids, not because of you. Nobody cares about you.
Nothing man can do to you can ever compare to the wrath of God. Inevitably, you will stand before our Lord and will have to answer to him over the sins you have committed in murdering our children.
You are gonna suffer, man. I'm shaking because I want to reach out to you, but I hope you feel my energy, okay? Go to hell.
Let's bring in Fox News contributor and criminal defense attorney Joshua Ritter. Joshua, 2.5 hours of just gut-wrenching testimony yesterday. Your reaction and reflections to what we heard?
That's a good way of putting it, is gut-wrenching. It was an emotionally exhausting day. And I'll tell you, the thing that struck me most of all was the strength of all of these people. Each one of them came in and in their own unique way shared how this moment, how this crime, how the last 2.5 years had affected their lives. We heard, very touching anecdotes that brought some smiles and tears to people's faces. And then we saw some of the clips that you just showed there, where people had the strength to look him in the eyes, stare him down in court in incredibly intense moments and tell them exactly what they thought of him. It was a breathtaking thing to watch. I've sat through many of these as my time as a prosecutor, and there was nothing I've ever experienced quite like this.
Yet, Joshua, after all of this, we still don't have the answer to why these horrific murders happen. And the judge had a pretty interesting take on the why. Let's listen.
But upon reflection, it seems to me, and this is just my own opinion, that by continuing to focus on why, we continue to give Mr. Kohberger relevance. We give him agency and we give him power. In my view, the time has now come to end Mr. Kohberger's 15 minutes of fame. It's time that he be consigned to the ignominy and isolation of perpetual incarceration.
Joshua, your reaction to those words, and do you think we'll ever get an answer to the why?
I'm so glad you played that because I thought the judge's words were really incredible. They struck a tone with me. I agree with him. We probably never would have gotten a satisfactory answer out of Kohberger if he was even willing to give us an answer, and it would have just given him more attention. But I don't know if that's going to be satisfactory or fulfilling to anyone who really is frustrated and really wants to know why. Perhaps this is just one of those cases where there is not a satisfactory answer why. I mean, if you think about it, there really is nothing that I think we could have heard that would have helped us understand or be able to deal with any better the loss of these 4 beautiful lives. So probably the last words we're ever heard from Kohberger will be those words that he spoke in court today. And hopefully these families can go on to now try to put this behind them and heal.
Moscow police released documents last night related to this case, and we learned that Bryan Kohberger attempted to spy on police after committing these murders by using a phone police scanner on his cell phone. Did we learn anything else of note?
Yeah, we learned that we talked a little bit about the crime scene. It was brutal. It sounds like he spent, we use the term overkill. He spent a lot of time with some of these victims. 30 stabbings on one, 50 stabbings on the other. We learned about the police scanner, a little bit about some interviews that he had done with police where he was playing a little bit of cat and mouse with them, being coy about what information he knew and what he knew about why they were wanting to speak with him. So it was just the first batch of documents that we received within hours of him being sentenced, and I expect that we're going to learn a lot more in the coming days and weeks.
Well, he is going to be waking up in the state prison of Kuna this morning, and the Idaho Department of Corrections released this statement, Joshua, saying that they're going to evaluate his needs and determine appropriate housing placement. The process will take 7 to 14 days. They also say we wait until the person completes RDU to determine their classification, housing placement, and privileges. What sort of privileges do you think somebody like Bryan Kohberger will have behind bars for the rest of his life?
We're not talking anything elaborate. He's going to be under the highest type of security, especially given the nature of the crimes that involve young folks, crimes that involve multiple murder, crimes that involve females as victims. He's going to need to be under some sort of administrative segregation, some sort of protective custody from other inmates, because they're just not going to respond to this well, other inmates. But as far as, privileges, we're talking about maybe he'll one day have access to TVs and, computers and things and be able to communicate with his family in the outside world, but nothing really elaborate. We're talking about lockdown for most of the day, every day.
Well, Moscow police described what he did as not even human, and the White House released a statement yesterday saying the nation mourns with the victims' families, and we certainly do. Joshua Ritter, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Joshua.